Hey guys, अभी जो स्क्रीन पे मेरी एनिमेशन चल रही है, it looks phenomenal, right? ये अगर मैं आपको बोलूं पूरा का पूरा AI में बनाया मैंने through Agent 1 in Invideo, you will be blown away, right? Like it's crazy what Invideo Agent 1 can do. So today what I'm going to take you through is actually how I did this animation and where did it start from and how did I get to this final output. Hi guys, I'm Devang Singh, a commercial film director and hybrid filmmaker. And in the last 15 years, I've worked with almost every single one of India's biggest F&B brands to bring forth some of your favorite commercials. Let's get into it. First, it'll ask the agent. Like I created this agent. It is called Animaunty. I'm very funny with these names. I like to just call these agents whatever I want. So Animaunty is basically a skilled animator who had in-depth knowledge of all 3D and 2D motion design too, and also an illustrator style who can replicate any art form. And who am I? I am your film director who works with different new animation styles. So that now I've given context to Invideo that how this agent needs to perform. After creating that, I wanted to give it some project context. I am blown away with this one kind of animation that I saw. And I was like, okay, cool, this Kali Pili and all of that is fine. So I said, understand this animation style. And once you have, let's draft a prompt that can work for doing this for another vehicle. So I attached a Premiere Padmini. I said, this is the image and now I want to feed it into this. The first thing was, okay, hand painted 3D is what it figured out. And it said, what is the form, what is the surface, what is the background, what is the typography, bold, all caps and distressed, what is the motion. And I told it that, hey, let the command be for now. Let's just make an illustration in a still frame of the same style. So I made this entire thing with the car image and it created something like this. And I was like, wow, that's not bad. So I said it's not as per the right scale, and I gave it another image, which is like which gave me the fonts and everything. And hey, this is the scale, this is the kind of vibe I'm looking at, this is the kind of space. And then it gave me something which is much better. And I was like, okay, cool, we've nailed this. And I said, okay, let's first start an animation, simpler way. So this is what the animation that came out. It was just a bob. It was just moving out, but it wasn't separating it, the rigs, and it wasn't doing all of that. So if you see that, I again gave it the animation and said, hey, in your context, you have this animation where the bounce is still there, but the parts are separating, right? So I said, let's get into that. And it started saying, good catch, you're right. Mine was one clean rubber bob. And then it went into like actually analyzing the video more. And then it started asking me, do you want to do a transfer attempt where I force the part lag with a tight part timeline? Or might crack it, might get some warping, but it's a cheap try. Or you want to go layered rig? I said, please, let's go layered rig. And it gave me something phenomenal. And I was blown away, dude. I was like, shit, this is happening and I'm getting somewhere. For my content channel, I'm actually working on these new cameras and for semi-pros and stuff like that. And I wanted to make a carousel where naming these cameras, the Beast, the Midnight Queen and Midnight Owl and the Colorist, like each camera had their own properties. So I started out with the FX3. I said, okay, these are the camera pictures, and I gave it some angles of the camera pictures and also showed it that there are multiple parts to it. And I gave it the text, which is the Beast, which is in one line, and Sony FX3, which is in the second line. It says, love it onto the cameras, building the FX3. Now, I was like, okay, cool, let's do it. And the first still itself was like, what? It is so good. But I was like, I'm still not there. Now it's taking the realistic, whereas everything else is a little less realistic. And I worked on it. And I said, okay, cool. But now you've changed the text. Then I say in 4.2, use the same text style. This is the frame that I loved the most. And we're going to animate that. Then Image Tools basically took over and it used Nano Banana Pro for all of this. And then after that, used C-Dance 2.0 to do this. And I was like, okay, the bob is fine, but it's still not separating. Dude, it was able to overlap it, the text, and then come together like this. My text is not animated. And FX3 was away from the camera. So I said, why don't you flip this first? And I kind of liked the look. I said, okay, cool, let's animate this. And voila, here we are. Look at this one. Beautiful, right? And it's got the bob, it's got everything happening, it's got the text also moving, there is something happening everywhere in the frame. Once I got this through, I basically went to Claude, what can I call the other cameras? So I took the Canon EOS C70, I took Sony A7S III, I also took the Blackmagic, I took the Panasonic Lumix S5, and I created all of them in different backdrops, trying to see like how can we replicate this all across. There were a lot of glitches. Okay. Now what happens is the biggest problem that we started facing when we started doing that, it wasn't able to replicate the style every. 4.28 became the best, and that became a golden anchor frame. Now here onwards, we were only replacing context. This is the camera and this is the new thing. Still, there was a lot of problems. And we were like, okay, wait, what is going on now? Now the movement has happened, the cameras are changing, it's hallucinating. We had to again keep fixing it. Our commands were not straight up. Give it the photograph of the camera and the text line and just say replace. After that, we left it and we went on to doing the Nikon. Yeah. And beautiful, the first one. And what we missed out on, we did not add the right context in the beginning. Animaunty, why don't you just put like a context and update yourself with what is it that we're trying to achieve and make this as a golden ratio. So Z9, once it was locked, we said add rhythmic vertical bob, top dismantle is missing. So it started doing that and it gave me a perfect one. 8.18 was it. Okay, let's go to the next one. And after Nikon, we said Blackmagic. And when the Blackmagic came on, and we called it the Colorist because it's like one of the best, it was right there. And now we had nailed it. Now from here onwards, everything got easy. We did the Nikon, Canon, something for the Value King, which is the Panasonic Lumix S5. And then after that, once we went on to the Canon, we saw that by now we were just doing one generation and it was hitting it. That's about it. This is how we created what we created right now. We could do a lot more with this. So for me, animation with Invideo is something that is possible, and Agent 1 actually just jammed with me. In the description, I've also put the Invideo link for which you can actually go and subscribe to Invideo. I've also put in some workflow document which will give you the entire process. So enjoy that, buddy. And also subscribe for more such content. And if you don't do that, you'll miss out. Nah? This is Deva signing out.